r/confession. I lied to a teacher and got a boy kicked out of middle school. In middle school we had a boy in our class who was high functioning and sweet, but a little weird. His name was Chase. He would talk to everyone and most people were nice, but the middle school boys would bully him constantly. Ethan was the kid who would always pick on him, and it upset me so much as a kid seeing the loud/confident kids picking on the small kid who didn't deserve it. None of the teachers or ly cared, but I did feel so bad for this kid as he came to school with dirty clothes and greasy hair, and I never understood why the teachers didn't look out for him more. One day after school at home I was playing an ankle skip rope and ended up hurting myself and bruising my ankle pretty bad. It didn't hurt much, but it left a big mark. The next day at school I was sitting next to Chase on the desks when Ethan came up to us. He started making jokes to Chase about having a crush on me, and then proceeded to push him into me. I fell off the desk and the teacher came over and asked if I was alright. I was fine, it didn't hurt at all, it was a light shove. The teacher looked at me and saw the huge bruise on my ankle. She asked how it happened and I said my ankle hit the desk when I fell. This teacher went into full protector mode, sent this kid to the office and was so angry. Fast forward to the next day, and he never came to school. He never came to school again. This was all before Instagram/texting or anything crazy like that. I was 11 and had no idea where this kid went. Fast forward to HS and I learned he has gone to a private school nearby since then. This kid was obnoxious and rude to Chase, but I know he never intended to, or did, hurt me. It truly was a split-second decision I lied about that changed someone's life. I work as a receptionist in a hospital and stole weed from a patient. As the title suggests, I work in a hospital as a receptionist. To be more specific, I work in the ER. One day on a regular shift, a patient of Jamaican origin is rushed in with a gunshot wound to the leg. I book him in on the system and am a bit concerned as this is obviously a severe injury, although I know he is in good hands as the doctors and nurses in this ER are very good at their jobs. After a while of him being tended to by the best doctor on shift at the time, he is moved to a different part of the hospital and appears to be doing better and in better condition. I continue with my receptionist duties as normal. Around 30 minutes after the gunshot victim had been moved from the ER, the doctor that saw him and came to the desk with a small container and said, "My other patient left this in my room, I think it's weed, can you please dispose of it?" I took the container and quickly inspected it and put it to the side of the computer hidden from sight. Luckily the container sealed the smell as I could see it was definitely weed. At the end of the shift I packed up my things ready to go home and slipped the container of weed into my bag and took it home with me. I threw a rock out of a restaurant window and hit someone in the head. I still regret it to this day, but granted I was only 8 years old. My parents had taken me and a few of my friends to a seafood restaurant, and we were throwing small rocks out of the window to see if we could hit birds, as dumb kids do. One of my friends at the time dared me to throw the big rock out the window. Thinking back to it, even though it was a decade and a half ago, it could not have been less than 20 pounds as it took 2 of us to lift it. We slowly carried the rock to the window and threw it down. Coincidentally, our food had been ready on the bottom floor, so we went to eat. Later on we saw an ambulance arrive and me and my friend got up and asked what had happened. Turns out the rock had hit someone in the head. My friend froze up and we were both in shock. To this day I still don't know what happened to that man or woman, as I didn't have the guts to take responsibility. I hope we didn't cause any permanent damage to his brain. When I was 13, I stole $500 from my dad's friend. So I'm 16 and me and my dad do everything together. So when he's with friends I sometimes come along. And when I was 13 I was really into video games and my dad's friend had a Xbox. We're gonna call him Ed, fake name, so Ed decided to let me play while they talked. His Xbox was downstairs and they were above. Ed was pretty rich and I saw a money clip on his desk. Our family wasn't the richest, but we were far from poor. But when I saw the money clip, I decided I would take some. There was probably $1,000 or so in there. So I took 500 and somehow he still never noticed. Stole from people and stole accounts and sold them. I was kind of a klepto from the ages of 12 to 16. I would steal from people at school compulsively. Nothing of much value, pens, binders, erasers, etc. I would also use stolen accounts that I found online. Netflix, Hulu, VPN accounts, and more. I didn't have any discretionary spending money as a teen, so I would also sell those accounts. I didn't make much off of it, maybe $50 a month, but I still feel really guilty for doing that. I still did it for a while after I got a job too. Once I got access to people's Barnes and Noble accounts, and there was a way that you could take people's gift card balances, and I took about $150 worth of various people's, at least 10 different people, gift card balances. Barnes and Noble eventually found out about this bug, and the people who I took that from were notified via email, so I'd like to think that they were able to get their money back. I drive the wrong way down a one-way street on a regular basis. If this is too lame that it goes against the community guidelines, just delete. I live less than a half mile from my job. I should walk to work, but I have a terrible time waking up in the morning, so I'm always running late and I end up driving. Fine, not my confession. So I start at 8:30 a.m. If I leave by 8:15 I can walk, and if by 8:20 I can drive like a normal person. Any later than that and I am driving a block up a one-way street in the wrong direction, because otherwise I'd have to go around and get stuck at traffic lights. I realized last week that there is a child care center nearby when I almost mowed down a toddler. I get so anxious about being a minute late to my sucky ass job that I break all traffic laws. I've literally never been so ashamed. I started a sizable fire with my friend a few years back. Okay, so this takes us back to maybe grade 5 or 6. I was probably age 10 to 12. I'm not really sure. So near me and my friend's house there was this big one patch of woods that would connect our streets that are probably a mile apart. We'd always hang out back there, we'd catch turtles and snakes and shit in the swamp back there, and it was always a fun time. We've always noticed, however, this old abandoned snowmobile kinda in the back of the woods, and there was still a tank and everything in it. It was mostly intact. Anyway, his brothers were major potheads and there were lighters that we could get a hold of, so we did. So one day we went to the little convenience store near us and got a ton of snacks and everything, and went to a very small clearing and made a small fire for literally no reason, which I thought was a bad idea, so I made mine very small, and we got bored of that soon enough and took a break to catch some animals, and once we got bored of that we went back to the fires, this time in another clearing full of dry ass wood and pine needles. It was obvious there have been fires there before, so we decided to have our own. Very quickly the fire got out of our control and we barely stopped it. We were lucky to have found a bucket to drown it with, and to be right next to the swamp. Even after this scare, we haven't had enough apparently. We is in quotes because I already had enough fire for the day, and we went up to the snowmobile and started messing with it, and we noticed there was still fuel, and we decided to make a torch for some reason. We grabbed some sticks, put it in the tank and lit them, and honestly it felt really cool. We felt like cavemen and we were just playing with the torches. Well, fast forward a few minutes, we dropped our torches on the snowmobile to see what would happen, and the whole snowmobile, covered in fuel because of us, starts to light up, and as we try to contain it, nothing works, and as the flames rise we see flaming mice run out from underneath the thing and before we knew it the flames were completely out of control. We sprinted probably a half mile through the woods back to his house, and jumped in the pool fully clothed to try and get rid of the smell of smoke that followed us. I slept at his house that night, and we went back to the area the next morning only to find ridiculous amounts of the woods burnt down and the scary, decrepit skeleton of the old snowmobile. The scary part is the proximity everything was to countless houses that could have burnt down because of us. We don't ever talk about it and we swore not to tell anyone about it. Moral of the story, don't be a stupid ass 10-year-old. That was r/confession. Let me know what you think of these stories down in the comments. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I publish new videos daily.